Have you ever wondered, sometimes, not saying certain things might be the best way to preserve peace and dignity in your twilight years? Many older adults say that as they age, the most precious things are not money or health, but respect and warm relationships with their loved ones. Yet sometimes, just a careless comment or an overly personal disclosure can be enough to disrupt everything. The risk lies in this: the older we get, the easier it becomes to confuse openness with the loss of personal boundaries. Not everything needs to be said. Some matters, even when sincerely felt, are better kept private to protect ourselves and those we love. This video will share 5 important things that people over 65 should consider keeping to themselves. Not to live in secrecy, but to preserve peace of mind, self-respect, and deep family connection. If this topic resonates with you, feel free to leave a comment or share it with someone you care about. Have you ever kept something to yourself? Not out of fear, but out of love? If so, I'd love to hear your story. Now let's explore those 5 things. They just might make you reflect on how you share with the world around you. Throughout life, who hasn't had moments that weigh heavily on the heart whenever recalled? As we enter our later years, emotions tied to the past often become clearer than ever. Have you ever shared with your children or grandchildren about missed opportunities, past mistakes, or things you wish you had done differently, and then wondered whether that helped them, or on the contrary, left them feeling burdened? Many older parents believe that being honest about regrets is a way of passing down life lessons. They want their children to avoid the same mistakes, to make up for lost time through advice. However, such sharing doesn't always have a positive impact. When regret-filled stories are told over and over, they can unintentionally become emotional burdens. Children may begin to wonder, have I disappointed my parents? Or am I living in the shadow of their unfinished dreams? Insecurity and self-doubt can quietly seep in, especially in young people who are still shaping their identities. Moreover, when parents dwell too much on things they wish they had done differently, their children may unconsciously start viewing them through the lens of regret rather than admiration. This deeply affects how they cherish, connect with, and find inspiration from the older generation. That doesn't mean we should hide all emotions, but there is a healthier way to inspire through the past. Focus on the lesson, not the sorrow. Instead of saying, I wish I had spent more time with family, you could say, I've learned that being present each day is more valuable than any gift. The shift from regret to wisdom not only helps preserve a positive image in your children's hearts, but also brings you greater peace with what's already past. An effective way to share your past without passing on its weight is to keep a private journal, recording what you want to pass down in the form of life lessons or guiding principles. If you want to talk about it, choose the right moment, when your children are ready to listen and in a spirit of openness. Try asking, would you like to hear something I've learned from a mistake I once made? Instead of suddenly unloading your feelings. No one can change the past, but everyone can choose how to tell it. And the way you tell it will shape the emotions you plant in others: inspiration or burden, gratitude or silent sorrow. So, what about money? A topic just as sensitive. Can sharing too much help build trust, or might it unintentionally distort the relationship? Let's explore that in the next section. Finances are a sensitive topic in every family, especially when parents are aging and their children have grown up. We often think that sharing about money is necessary for our children to understand and empathize, but sometimes it is this very honesty that can unsettle the most valuable things: respect, trust, and healthy relationships between generations. Have you ever told your children about debts you once carried, failed investments, or on the contrary, proud financial successes? Most likely, you simply wanted to share your journey, to offer life experience. But try putting yourself in the listener's shoes. What might be going on in their hearts? Independence and self-reliance are seen as core values, and knowing too much about a parent's financial situation can make children feel uncomfortable. If parents talk about financial struggles, the children may feel pressured to provide support, even if they're not financially stable themselves. If parents reveal financial abundance, the children may unconsciously develop expectations or feel inadequate if they haven't achieved similar success. Worse still, when money starts to influence the relationship. Financial dependence, no matter which direction it flows, can erode equality and respect within the family. Dinner tables can become tense over numbers, and casual conversations may turn into silent debates about who's supporting whom. However, that doesn't mean you need to keep everything about money a secret. Preparing wills, inheritance plans, or insurance matters is still important, but should be shared selectively, at the right time, and with the right person. Most importantly, maintain the boundary between necessary information and unnecessary emotional sharing. Instead of saying, "We don't have much left, so there's nothing to inherit," you could say, "Everything has been taken care of. Don't worry about it. We just want you to be happy." That subtle difference in how the message is conveyed can make a big difference between peace and emotional pressure. A simple suggestion: write down important financial details and keep them somewhere easy to find in case of need, rather than sharing verbally in a sentimental way. And if a conversation truly is necessary, choose a child who is mature enough to handle it and to keep it private. This isn't just caution. It's a way to show care for your loved one's emotional well-being. Money is a means, not the essence of a relationship. The less emotionally you talk about it, the more you preserve respect and independence in your children's eyes. And then, beyond money, there's another thing that can also cause hurt if not spoken carefully: your opinions about other family members. We'll discuss that more in the next section. Family is where we feel the deepest connection, and also where words can hurt the most. In our later years, after weathering many of life's ups and downs, it's easy to feel entitled to speak our minds about people, about everything. But sometimes, words we think are harmless carry more weight than we realize, especially when they're directed at family, daughters-in-law, sons-in-law, grandchildren, or even our own children. Have you ever, in a moment of frustration or disappointment, blurted out something like, "He's just like his father, stubborn and insensitive," or "My daughter-in-law makes good money but doesn't know how to keep a home"? These remarks may reflect fleeting emotions, but once spoken, they're hard to take back. And more importantly, our children still hear them, still feel them, and sometimes remember them for a long time. In many families, people live separately and lead their own lives. Expressing negative opinions about a relative, even in a private conversation, can cause significant rifts. Children may feel torn, caught between two sides. They're forced to choose a side in a conflict they never signed up for. What's the result? Distance begins to grow. The calls become less frequent. The hugs feel more forced. Worse still, when such remarks accidentally spread, even without intention. Just once, if your child repeats to their spouse, "My mom said you're selfish," it could cause deep hurt and erode respect within the family. But this can be completely avoided. if we pause before we speak. Remember, every family member is trying in their own way. No one is perfect, and no one wants to be the subject of criticism, especially not from someone they love. Instead of making direct judgments, try to reframe them as gentle questions or observations. For example, instead of saying, "He never cares about me," try, "It's been a while since we talked. Are you doing okay?" A small shift in wording can preserve the connection instead of causing a rift. One simple yet effective strategy is, if you're feeling upset with someone in the family, write it down, not to send, but to release your emotions. Writing helps you cool down, view the issue more objectively, and avoid saying something in the heat of the moment. Remember, words are seeds. Positive words nurture love. Harsh words create distance. And at this stage of life, what matters most isn't who's right or wrong, but keeping relationships strong, gentle, and sincere. In the end, when words are measured, what remains is your warm presence. But if we speak too much about illness, can that presence still feel balanced? Let's take a closer look in the next section: health and the limits of sharing. No one can escape the passage of time. At 60, 70, or beyond, the body begins to speak through aches and pains, restless sleep, or more frequent doctor visits. Taking care of your health is essential, but talking too much about health, especially in relationships with your children and loved ones, can unintentionally create a different image, one of weakness, dependency, and negativity. Have you ever fallen into the habit of saying, "I didn't sleep at all last night. My back hurts constantly. I can barely move," or "the medicine isn't helping at all"? These comments may seem harmless, just a way to share and feel cared for. But if repeated often, they can leave loved ones feeling weary and helpless because there's little they can do to change their situation. With busy lives, the time we spend together is already limited, so every minute of conversation becomes precious. If those minutes revolve only around illness, symptoms, and prescriptions, the emotional connection can gradually wear thin. Family members may start to avoid calls or feel guilty for not being able to carry your worries. Subconsciously, you may be seen as someone who's in decline instead of someone full of wisdom, experience, and life value. No one denies that you're facing real health issues, but sometimes filtering what to share isn't hiding. It's a form of respect. Respect for the listener and for yourself. Try this shift. Instead of beginning a conversation with, "I feel awful today," start with, "It's a beautiful day. How are you?" Use the start of the call to connect emotionally and bring up health matters only if truly necessary. Another effective approach is to write down your symptoms or feelings in a personal notebook to discuss later with your doctor or nurse. When talking to family, keep the conversation more colorful. Ask about their work, share joyful stories, or recall cherished memories. This not only helps maintain a positive image in your children's eyes, but also brings genuine optimism to your own spirit. Health is a part of life, but it shouldn't be the whole story. As you grow older, you have the right to choose what deserves to be spoken, and what is better saved for professional consultations rather than family dinners. Choose to share as encouragement, not as a complaint. Talk about how you managed to walk around the backyard for 10 minutes, or how trying a new dish made you feel better. These are the kinds of stories that bring inspiration, not just to you, but to those who love you. In the end, when you can manage how you talk about health, what remains is a powerful, resilient, and positive image, exactly how you deserve to be seen. But there's still one more thing, something that can also weigh down conversations. When we speak too often about fears, worries, and things that haven't even happened. Let's take a closer look in the final section. Fear and anxiety. Should we really share it all? As we age, our fears become more specific. They're no longer the vague anxieties of youth, but concrete concerns. Fear of illness, fear of loneliness, fear of losing mental clarity, fear of becoming a burden to others. These feelings are real, and you absolutely have the right to feel them. But should we share all these fears with our children and loved ones? You may have once started a conversation by saying, "I keep worrying. What if something happens to me at night?" Or, "I feel like I'm forgetting more and more. I'm afraid I won't even remember you someday." These kinds of statements, when repeated too often, don't just create sadness. They also instill a sense of helplessness in the listener. They don't know what to do or what to say. All they can do is listen, feeling distressed and uncertain. Independence is a core value, not just financially, but emotionally. When you constantly express anxiety, younger family members may feel unconsciously cast into a rescuer role. They love you deeply, but they also have lives of their own, with their own stresses. If every conversation becomes a negative news bulletin, sooner or later, they'll start to pull away, not from lack of love, but from emotional overload. The key isn't to suppress your emotions, but to learn how to share them in the right place, with the right person, at the right time. Some worries are best confided in a doctor, therapist, or a peer. Someone who truly understands these feelings and can help you navigate them constructively. With your children, keep the sharing balanced and use constructive phrases like, "I've been feeling anxious lately, so I started meditating every morning. It's really helping." Another effective approach: turn anxiety into action. Instead of saying, "I'm afraid I'll lose my memory one day," say, "I'm practicing ways to stay sharp. I read and take notes every day." This helps you feel more in control, and it reassures your loved ones to see you taking positive steps for yourself. Fear is a deeply human emotion, but it doesn't need to dominate every conversation. Leave space for warm topics, joyful stories, cherished memories, and small things you're grateful for in the present. Sometimes, just asking, "And how about you? How have you been lately?" can open the door to a deeper connection than any complaint ever could. In the end, what your loved ones need isn't someone who pretends to be cheerful all the time, but someone who knows how to filter emotions to preserve the relationship. Because love doesn't come only from sharing, it also comes from self-awareness and grace in how we share. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. It tells me that you're not only caring for yourself, but also making an effort to preserve the most precious things in your family relationships: peace, self-respect, and unconditional love. Together, we've explored 5 seemingly small things that can have a profound impact on how children perceive their parents and how older adults preserve their sense of self-worth in their later years. From being mindful about sharing regrets, speaking carefully about finances, knowing when to stay silent about family members, to moderating how we talk about health or fears, each is a sign of deep wisdom and a love great enough to know when to step back. What did you take away from this? Have you recognized yourself in any of these habits that may have unintentionally burdened your loved ones? Or do you feel relieved to have found ways to adjust and connect better? Leave a comment and share your thoughts. Your story might just be a gift for someone who needs it right now. If you found this message meaningful, don't hesitate to share it with someone you love. A father, a mother, a friend who's living life past 60. Sometimes just one timely message can change the way someone lives and loves more deeply. Stay with me for future content, where we'll continue to reflect on life with fresh eyes, learn how to preserve what truly matters, and enter older age not only with experience, but also with peace. Because you deserve to live fully, not by what you say out loud, but by what you choose to hold gently within, with self-awareness and love.